Secretary of State Frank LaRose visited the early voting center in downtown Toledo. LaRose met with local election leaders as well as spoke with voters. Senator Teresa Gaverone was also in attendance in today's events. LaRose toured the early voting facilities and got to learn about the new technology head on. He also spoke with the media about voting programs being implemented and election security. I also spoke with the secretary exclusively in his state car about multiple voting issues and new technology. Why is election security important locally, statewide, and nationally?
Well, the most important reason why we have to maintain secure elections is to maintain voter confidence. People need to know that when their vote is cast, that their voice is going to be heard in the results. And so in Ohio, we've led the way on election security. Ohio has always required that there be a paper backup for every ballot that's cast. We have always required that the voting machines are not connected to the internet. A lot of people don't realize that. People think that somehow a voting machine can be remotely tampered with or hacked. In Ohio, you're not allowed to connect a voting machine to the internet. And so in order for somebody to mess with a machine, they'd have to be left alone to kind of put their hands on it. Of course, the Board of Elections is never going to let you do that. And so the most important thing that we can do is maintain the confidence that people have and that there be an accurate election. And that's what our cybersecurity directive is all about.
What happened in 2016 that made an impact here in 2019?
I think one of the things that got all of our attention in 2016 is the rise of efforts by foreign operatives to try to undermine the confidence that people have in our elections. And so we've seen that whether they're from Russia or from other countries, there have been organized attempts by people to spread bad information using social media, by trying to get reporters to actually cover something that's not true. And so it's important that we be informed as Ohioans, and so my office is working really hard to make sure that we get the accurate information, the true information out there, and letting everybody know that, again, that we have accurate and honest elections in Ohio.
What is being implemented statewide in this new election season?
So a couple things. Many counties in Ohio, and it's up to each county. Remember, Ohio has 88 counties, and each of them have their own board of elections that's half Republicans and half Democrats. And so what you're seeing is in many of those counties, new voting machines are being fielded. That's the case here in Lucas County, where they're bringing out new equipment. We're going to see some of that equipment in a few minutes. That was funded by the state last year. When I was in the state Senate, I worked on that bill to fund $114.5 million to get new voting machines out. Also, again, the work that we're doing with our security directive is being noticed around the country. I've given the boards of elections until January to complete a really long list of things that they need to do to make sure that we're secure. We're also working to make sure that the poll workers have the best training that they can get so that they're ready for any situation that can come up. And something lastly that we're working with reporters to do, and when we do it up here in Northwest Ohio, I hope that you come along as well, is we're talking about putting together elections training for reporters, because reporters, everyone that I know, is really dedicated to their work. They want to get the story right, they want to get the news out there, but they're not elections experts necessarily. They may not have ever worked at a board of elections. Most cases they haven't. And so what we want to do is put together Elections 101 training for reporters so they can come and learn about all the steps in the process, the certification of the machines, the training of the poll workers, the fact that they do what's called a logic and accuracy test before every election, where they go thoroughly through each voting machine and make sure that it's working exactly as it's supposed to, all the way to the chain of custody, where they maintain accountability of this equipment. There's little seals on it so that you can tell if somebody opened it, all the way through the post-election audit that we do to make sure that we kind of balance our checkbook and assure that everything turned out exactly as it was supposed to. So when we do that voting or election 101 training for reporters, I think that it'll make them better prepared to do good, accurate stories about Ohio's elections.
I also spoke to Lucas County Board of Elections Director LaVera Scott for the Secretary of State to come in and visit the Board of Elections today.
We're always excited when people want to come in to visit, and for the chief election official to come in to see our operations. We're flattered by that. We're also excited because we believe that we are doing things in Lucas County and making changes that are good for the voter. And for the chief election official to actually see that as well is a good thing.
So what do you have to say about the new equipment that was implemented in these new elections?
Of course, I was one of the ones to vet this equipment. So I'm excited that the state provided some funding for it, and then I'm even more grateful that our county commissioners, they also provided funding for the machines, because the machines themselves cost us about $6.5 million, and the state allocated 3.8. The remainder came from the commissioners, which means, of course, all the taxpayers of Lucas County. So I thank them for that as well. We were vetting different systems for about a year, and I do believe that we made the best choice for our county with the size of our county. I do believe that we made a choice that would allow the voters to feel secure, even more secure in their vote. Them being able to not only see visually on the screen what their choices are, but for those that choose to get the paper printout and look at it for themselves, it gives them that little extra confidence to say, okay, yes, this is what I pushed and this is what it says. So I think that that will help the voters. As we know, voters are always worried about, hacking and things of that nature. Of course, in Ohio, your machines cannot be linked to the internet. Never has been, and I think that that's also an added benefit of the machines and how Ohio runs elections.
Reporting in Toledo, Jefferson, Jaden reports, Eyewitness News, Toledo.